I stood in the burning Colorado sun, eyes narrowed against the glare, staring at the spot where our car had been moments ago. It was gone, along with Chloe and her friends. Just gone. At first, I figured it was one of their usual stunts. Chloe and her girls loved to mess with me. Toe the line, see how far they could push before I finally cracked. After 5 years of marriage, I'd come to expect the teasing, the inside jokes I was never part of, the way Chloe laughed along instead of having my back. But this felt different. My phone? Still in the charger. Wallet? Locked in the glove compartment. All I had were the clothes on my back and the slow, sick realization crawling up my spine. They weren't coming back. We were on day 3 of this so-called bonding trip to Stephanie's lake house. Chloe had begged me to come, claimed it would help me get closer to her circle. I didn't want to go. Her friends always made me feel like a stranger, like I was just a prop in the background of their little show. But I loved her. At least I thought I did. The gas station was a lonely, sun-faded relic, clinging to life in the middle of nowhere. One pump, a flickering sign. I stepped inside to use the bathroom, figuring they'd wait. They didn't. I stood there for an hour, pacing cracked pavement, telling myself they'd come back laughing, yelling "gotcha," while tires crunched on gravel. But the road stayed empty. No Chloe. No prank. Just silence. 2 hours passed. My mouth was dry, sweat creeping down my back. I couldn't stop replaying the last few days. The coffee Stephanie accidentally spilled in my lap. The hushed whispers Lauren sent Chloe's way that made her giggle while glancing at me. And Issa, always watching with that smug grin. They were building up to something. I just hadn't seen it. A pickup truck pulled in, engine growling like a beast. The driver, grizzled and sunburnt with a greasy ball cap, leaned out. "You all right, bud?" "Been standing there a while." His voice hit me like a slap. I wasn't all right. I swallowed, trying to stay steady. "My ride ditched me. Think you could help?" He nodded, like this wasn't the first time he'd seen someone stranded like this. "Hop in. Where you headed?" I didn't even know. Home? Back to Chloe? Back to what? As I climbed into the cab, something in me cracked open. 5 years of her brushing me off, laughing with them instead of standing by me. It all bubbled to the surface. Hot. Heavy. I stared out the window as the gas station shrank behind us. I could have asked to borrow the guy's phone, could have called Chloe, demanded an answer. But what would she have said? "Relax, babe, it was a joke." Same old script. Every time I brought up her friends, she'd roll her eyes and tell me I didn't get it. Maybe I didn't. But standing there alone, discarded like trash, I finally understood. They didn't get me either. And Chloe? She'd made her choice.
The trucker dropped me off at a dusty intersection a few miles out, pointing down the highway toward Grand Junction. "Closest town that way," he said, tipping his cap. "Good luck, kid." I nodded, the weight in my chest making it hard to speak. Then I walked. The road ahead shimmered in the heat, stretching into forever. No phone, no wallet, just me and the echo of 5 wasted years. For a moment, I thought about going back. Maybe someone at the gas station had a phone. Maybe I could still call Chloe. Maybe. But then I remembered her face the night before. The way she laughed when Stephanie knocked my beer over. How she didn't even flinch when I asked her, begged her, to have my back. 5 years. 5 years of being the punchline in my own marriage. I kept walking. Each step forward felt like peeling off a layer of who I used to be. The guy who kept trying, the guy who excused it all, the guy who swallowed his pride to keep the peace. I didn't want to be him anymore. A pickup rolled by, I stuck up my thumb, and the driver, a scruffy guy in a flannel, slowed down just enough to take me in. "Where you headed?" he asked. "Grand Junction," I said. He nodded once. "Wah, hop in." We rode in silence for a bit, the engine humming under us. "Get left behind?" he asked eventually. "Yeah," I muttered, by people I trusted." He grunted like that was answer enough. He dropped me near the edge of town, just past a blinking stoplight and a row of worn-out storefronts. "Take care of yourself," he said. "You too," I replied, and the door clicked shut behind me. I stood there, dusty and alone, surrounded by strangers going about their lives, shopping, walking, laughing, everything normal, everything fine, except me. I spotted a cross painted on a squat building down the block. A shelter. Just the idea made my stomach twist. But what choice did I have? Inside, the air smelled like bleach and stale coffee. A bald man behind the counter looked up from a clipboard. "You lost or broke?" he asked. "Both." He raised an eyebrow. "Name?" "Mike." He slid a form toward me. "Fill this out. We'll get you a bed. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." That night, I lay on a thin cot in a room full of coughing, snoring strangers. The ceiling above me was stained, cracked, and unfamiliar, but quieter than the noise in my head. Chloe's voice wouldn't stop, her laugh, her silence, her betrayal. I wanted to hate her. God, I wanted to hate her. But part of me still hoped, stupidly, stubbornly, that she'd walk in and say it was all a mistake. Instead, I heard Roy's voice in my head. "Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest." And that's what I held on to. Roy wasn't the type to coddle. First thing the next morning, he handed me a cup of weak coffee and sat me down with a plan. "You're gonna need ID to do anything. Job, bank account, the works. That's gonna take time. But until then, you need cash in your pocket." I nodded, unsure of anything, except that I couldn't stay useless. "You good with dishes?" he asked. "I can be. There's a diner down the street. Jacqueline owns it. Tough old lady. Tell her I sent you. She might give you a shot." The place was called Jackie's. It looked like it hadn't changed since the 60s. Red vinyl booths, a flickering jukebox in the corner. Jacqueline was behind the counter, wiry and tattooed, with sharp eyes that didn't miss much. "You Roy's stray?" she asked without looking up from her rag. "I need work," I said. "Anything." She gave me a look like she was trying to see if I'd crack. "Dishwasher quit yesterday. Pays like crap. Hours are long. Steal for me, and I'll bury you out back." I blinked. "I'm in." She tossed me an apron, and that was that. I was scrubbing dishes 10 minutes later, my hands deep in scalding water, plates stacked to the ceiling. It wasn't glamorous. But it was mine. No Chloe. No sideways glances. No laughter at my expense. Just me, the hiss of the faucet, and the weight of my own breath. Roy stopped by a few days later, handed me another form for a replacement ID, and patted my shoulder. "You're doing all right, Mike." I wasn't sure if that was true, but I kept showing up, kept working. The shelter became my base. The diner became my world. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't surviving for someone else. I was doing it for me. Then, one afternoon, my first paycheck came in, a wrinkled envelope with my name scrawled across it. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I walked to the corner gas station and bought a cheap, prepaid phone. Held it in my hands like it was a trophy. No bells, no apps, no internet, just a number. I didn't think much of it, just wanted to be reachable if Roy or Jacqueline needed me. But the next day, while I was elbow deep in suds, it buzzed. I wiped my hands, reached for the phone, and froze. It was Chloe. Her name lit up the screen like a match to dry leaves. I didn't answer. The call went to voicemail, and a minute later, the message popped up. I told myself not to listen. But of course I did. Her voice came through soft, broken. "Mike, where are you? We waited. It was supposed to be funny. Please, call me." I stared at the sink, water still running. Waited? They'd left me in the middle of nowhere and called it funny? Then another message came in. Stephanie this time. I hit play. "Dude, you gotta admit it was hilarious. Call us back already." I gripped the phone so tight, my knuckles turned white. Hilarious. That's what I was to them. A joke. A story for drinks and giggles. More messages came. Chloe, Lauren, Stephanie. A flood of apologies and excuses and "where are you" texts. I scrolled through them, my chest tight, every word like a slap to the face. I sat on my cot that night, the shelter humming with noise, and stared at my phone. Then I blocked them, one by one. Chloe, Stephanie, Lauren, all of them. My hands shook, but my spine held steady. For the first time, the silence felt like freedom. The next morning, I showed up at the diner like nothing had happened. No one there knew what I'd done the night before, how I'd finally cut the cord. But I felt it in my bones. Every dish I scrubbed, every towel I wrung out, it all felt lighter. Jacqueline noticed something, of course. She always did. "You're quieter today," she muttered, tossing a rag my way. "Something goes sideways?" I shrugged. "Just dealing with some stuff." She snorted. "Long as it doesn't screw with my kitchen, sort of way." I half smiled at that. She didn't care about my drama. Only the job. And somehow, that made it easier to breathe. Roy came by later with an update on my paperwork. "Your ID's on its way," he said, slapping a printout on the counter. "You're holding up." "Yeah," I said, surprising even myself. "Better than I thought." That weekend, I picked out a secondhand jacket from the donation bin at the shelter. Nothing fancy, but it kept the wind off. I walked back to my cot that night with the prepaid phone silent in my pocket. No buzzing, no guilt, no Chloe. They were gone, cut out like dead weight, and I didn't miss the noise. The ache was still there, of course. Betrayal doesn't just vanish. But with every shift I worked, with every dollar I stacked in my envelope under the cot, it dulled. I was carving something new out of the wreckage, something they couldn't touch. Months passed. Slowly, steadily, life took shape. I saved enough to rent a tiny studio above a laundromat. It was barely more than a closet, a mattress on the floor, a hot plate, and a bathroom the size of a phone booth. But it was mine. No more shelter, no more strangers snoring around me. Just a key, a door, privacy. Jacqueline noticed I was putting in extra hours, and one day she pulled me aside. "You ever worked the line?" she asked. "No, but I can learn." She nodded. "Prep cooks out with a busted knee. You're up." Suddenly, I was chopping onions, peeling potatoes, learning the rhythm of the kitchen. It was chaos, but it gave my hands something to do, kept my head from drifting too far back. Still, the nights were rough. I'd lie on that lumpy mattress, ceiling stained with years of cigarette smoke, and think of Chloe. Not the Chloe who laughed with her friends. The Chloe from the early days. The one who smiled at me like I mattered. I hated that I still missed her sometimes. But then morning would come, and I'd lace up my boots and head out. No one waiting to tear me down. No sideways jabs. No fake laughs. Just me. Free. One night after a double shift, I sat in my studio flipping through the prepaid phone. No contacts, no texts, just boredom and curiosity. I created a fake social media account, just a blank name, no photo. I don't even know why I did it. Habit, maybe, or stupidity. I searched for Chloe. Her profile was still public, still curated to perfection. Selfies, friends, laughing by the lake. And then I saw it. A photo of us, old, faded, from a picnic years ago. Her caption read, "Missing my love. I pray he finds his way back to me." I stared at the screen. Missing me? She'd left me in the middle of nowhere, like I was an afterthought, and now she was performing heartbreak for likes? I scrolled down. Stephanie commented like, "He'll wheel him around with kicker." "He always does." Lauren chimed in. Sending hugs, babe. Like, hi. I nearly threw the phone. They'd turned me into a story, a cautionary tale with a convenient twist. Chloe, the victim, the brave, grieving wife. It was all so fake. So, Chloe. The next day at the diner, I was quieter than usual, still chewing on what I'd seen. Jacqueline noticed right away. "You look like someone just shot your dog," she said, sliding a plate of fries toward me. I picked at them, shrugged. "Just thinking too much." She leaned her elbows on the counter. "That ex of yours?" I blinked. I'd never told her the full story. "Yeah," I said. "Saw something online." "She acting like she's the one who got burned?" I nodded. Jacqueline scoffed. "Sounds like a real piece of work. You're better off." She walked away, and for the first time, I believed her. Work grounded me. I kept my head down, peeling, slicing, flipping burgers when the line got slammed. The diner had its regulars, people who left a few extra bucks, people who remembered my name. It was small, but it mattered. My hands toughened. My arms got stronger. I'd catch my reflection in the cooler glass, tired eyes, sure, but steadier. Solid. That fake smile Chloe posted faded in my mind, replaced by Jacqueline's no-nonsense bark and the rhythm of the kitchen. I stopped checking her page after that. Whatever story she was spinning wasn't mine anymore. I had my own. The loneliness still crept in on quiet nights, when the laundromat below rumbled and I lay staring at the ceiling, but it wasn't as sharp. I'd wake up to the smell of detergent, pull on my boots, and walk out the door. No one waiting to mock me, no one weighing me down, just Mike. And for once, that was enough. Time passed, seasons shifted, and life steadied. I'd been living above the laundromat for a while when she walked in, Sienna. She started coming to Jackie's a few times a week, always in the same booth by the window, always with a stack of textbooks and a coffee order that never changed. Denver, omelet, no tomatoes. Extra caffeine, no small talk. She was a med student, judging by the scribbled notes and the way she muttered anatomy terms under her breath while eating half-heartedly. At first, I barely paid her any mind, but then I noticed something. How focused she was. How her fork would hover in mid-air as she chased some thought across the page. One day, I got bored and swapped my name tag for a joke 1, Bob. Next time, Steve. After that, Carl. She never noticed, too deep in her world. Until the morning I pinned on Rusty and she finally looked up. Her eyes flicked from the name tag to my face, calm but pointed. "Your tag's wrong," she said. Soft but firm, like she was diagnosing me. I smirked. "Is it?" She arched an eyebrow. "You don't look like a Rusty," I chuckled. "You never asked my name." And for the first time she smiled, just a little. But it stuck. From then on, I found excuses to swing by her table, refill her coffee, ask if she needed anything, wipe a spotless counter near her booth just to stay close. She never said much, but that smirk, always half hiding behind her mug, started showing up more often. Then one evening, she walked in looking frazzled, her eyes tired, her backpack heavier than usual. "Exams?" I asked, sliding her coffee across the table. She nodded, rubbing her face. "Haven't slept in 2 days." When I brought her plate out, I slid an extra hash brown onto the edge without saying anything. She looked down, then up at me. "You're sneaky." I shrugged. "Gotta keep you conscious somehow." Our first date wasn't even planned. She walked in one night, dressed casual nice, jeans, clean jacket, hair brushed, and said her friends bailed on a dinner reservation across town. "I'm not wasting it," she said, then added, "You free?" I was wiping the counter, my shift nearly over. Jacqueline was within earshot and barked, "Go!" "You're no use to me just standing there grinning like a fool." So I went. We shared a pepperoni pizza and a pitcher of soda. She laughed, really laughed, when I told her about the fake name tags. "I knew it wasn't Rusty," she said. "You're too young to pull that off." We talked for hours about med school, diner stories, terrible movies. It felt easy, familiar. 6 months later, she moved into my studio. We tripped over each other cooking dinner. Her books were everywhere, but I didn't care. The place didn't feel small anymore. It felt full. A year after that, we got a real apartment, a couch, a kitchen that didn't burn toast, a window with actual sunlight. Sienna didn't belittle me. She didn't roll her eyes or laugh when I was vulnerable. She saw me, really saw me, and believed in me more than I knew how to believe in myself. Meanwhile, Chloe kept trying to claw her way back. Emails started arriving. Somehow she found my address, probably through some old piece of mail or mutual contact. The first one was short. "Mike, I just want to know you're okay. I miss you. We all do." I read it once, then deleted it. More came. Long ones, apologizing, pleading, slipping in fake concern and guilt. "I saw your grandmother. She's worried." For a second, I'd feel that old twist in my chest. Then I'd hit delete. Sienna saw the look on my face one night. "Who's that?" she asked. "Nobody," I said. And she didn't ask again. Because she trusted me. Because she didn't need to dig. Life with Sienna wasn't loud or dramatic. It was peaceful, honest, real. And Chloe? She was just a shadow outside the door. One I had no intention of letting in. And by the time we settled into that new apartment, life had finally found a rhythm. The diner was steady. Jacqueline leaned on me more and more. Less barking, more trust. I'd gone from dishwasher to line cook to her unofficial right hand. It felt earned. Sienna and I were good. Better than good. We shared dinners, argued over dishes, and laughed about nothing. Our life was small, but it was ours. Then one afternoon during a lull at the diner, Jacqueline called me over. "You busy?" I wiped my hands on a towel. "Not really." She motioned me behind the counter, her tone serious. "I'm opening a second location, smaller place across town. I need someone to run it." I blinked, stunned. "Me?" She nodded once. "You work hard. Don't whine. Don't steal. You're not an idiot. Say yes or don't waste my time." I laughed, but her face didn't change. She was dead serious. That night, I sat on the couch staring at the wall while Sienna graded papers. She noticed right away. "You're quiet," I told her about Jacqueline's offer. My voice shook a little, like saying it out loud might make it real. "She wants me to run it, the whole place." Sienna didn't even flinch. She reached over, squeezed my hand. "You already run half the diner now. She's just catching up. Say yes." "But what if I mess it up?" I whispered. She looked at me with those steady eyes. You won't. And I believed her. So the next day I told Jacqueline, yes. She tossed me a set of keys. Don't burn it down, she muttered, and that was that. The new place was a dive, 10 tables, a narrow kitchen, a coffee machine that sputtered every morning. But it was mine. Schedules, inventory, hiring, cooking, cleaning, every detail, mine. It was chaos at first. Orders got mixed up. I burned more than a few burgers. But I figured it out, day by day. Sienna would stay up late helping me balance receipts. Her hair in a messy bun, eyes bleary, voice soft. You're doing great, she'd say, and it kept me going. The place picked up. Regulars returned. Locals started calling me boss. Then, one afternoon, I checked my phone during a slow hour. An email. Chloe. Your grandmother's been asking about you. Please let us know you're alive. My gut twisted. She was still trying, still using guilt, still reaching back, thinking she had a claim on me. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. She didn't get to use my grandmother like that, not after everything. I'd reached out on my own weeks earlier, sent a card, made a quick call. Grandma was fine. No thanks to Chloe. After that, I buried myself in work. The diner kept growing. Truckers started stopping by. Locals waved at me from across the street. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something. I'd come home to Sienna, still studying, still supporting. And we'd sit at the table, eating whatever cheap dinner we'd scraped together. She'd ask, "How was your day?" And for the first time in years, I'd answer, "Good," and mean it. Chloe kept emailing, I kept deleting, she was fading, like a bad dream I'd finally stopped chasing. Years passed. We opened a third diner on the edge of town, bigger this time. More foot traffic, more noise, more everything. Sienna and I got married in a quiet ceremony, just us, a judge, and 2 of our regulars as witnesses. It wasn't fancy, but it was real. 2 kids came along loud and messy and full of life. Our house echoed with laughter, spilled juice, and the constant thud of little feet. We were exhausted, always behind, but we were happy. The diners thrived. The one Jacqueline started, the second I ran, and now this third one, mine from the ground up. One morning during a busy breakfast rush, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it, but something told me to check. It was a LinkedIn alert. Your profile was viewed 27 times today. I hadn't touched that account in years. Just a basic bio, a blurry photo Sienna insisted I upload once. Nothing special. Curious, I opened the app, and there it was. Chloe. Her name, her face, her job title, her eyes, still sharp, her smile, carefully constructed. She had viewed my profile 27 times. I stared at the screen, heat rushing into my chest. Not anger, not even fear. Just disbelief. 15 years. 15. I'd built a life. A family. A future. I hadn't thought about her in months. And here she was, nosing through my digital windows like a ghost that didn't know it was dead. I locked the phone and shoved it back in my pocket, trying to focus. Orders were piling up. Bacon was burning. Customers needed coffee. But my head was spinning. Why now? What did she want? Had she seen the diners? Found my name in a headline or a tagged photo? Had she just missed me? I didn't know, and I didn't care, or at least I wanted not to care. That night, I didn't mention it to Sienna. She was folding laundry, the kids screaming upstairs about some game. Our house was a beautiful mess of crayons and mismatched socks. She glanced up. Busy day? Same old, I said, kissing her forehead. And that was true, mostly. But Chloe lingered in the back of my mind, not in the way she used to, like a wound or a tether, but like an itch, an interruption. I didn't check LinkedIn again. I didn't want to see if she kept coming back. She was out there, still watching. But I was here, present, whole, with a wife who saw me, with children who loved me, with businesses I built from dirt and sweat. And I wasn't going to let a ghost pull me off track. Not again. A few days later it happened. I was behind the counter at the original diner, Jacqueline's place, when the doorbell chimed and the past walked in. Chloe, Stephanie, Issa. They looked different, older, worn in the way life wears you down when things haven't gone right. I saw them before they saw me. Chloe's short hair caught the morning light. Stephanie still had that same smirk glued to her face. Issa trailed behind them, shoulders hunched, eyes darting. They sat at a booth like nothing was wrong, like they belonged there. I could have stayed in the back, could have let one of the waitresses handle it. But something in me said no. So I grabbed the coffee pot and walked over. Chloe saw me first. Her jaw dropped, her voice cracked. "Oh my God, it's you." Stephanie leaned back, flashing her trademark grin. "Look at you, Mr. Diner Boss." Issa didn't meet my eyes. She kept her gaze fixed on the menu, fingers trembling. I stood there, coffee pot in hand, steady. "What do you want?" Chloe's hands twisted together. "Can we talk?" "I'm working. Talk." She swallowed, glanced at Stephanie, then back at me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "We need help." That word, help, tasted strange coming from her lips. She told me her story. The business she tried to launch, gone. Her marriage, over. She was broke, lost. Stephanie jumped in, trying to smooth it out. "You've got 3 diners, right? We just need a little boost, for old time's sake." Issa finally spoke. Just enough to get us back on our feet. I let them talk. Let their words tumble out, desperate, rehearsed, guilt-dipped and sugar-coated. I didn't interrupt. When they were done, I turned and walked to the office. My steps were heavy, but not unsure. I sat at the desk, pulled out an envelope, and wrote a check. Then I walked back. They looked up, hopeful, hungry. I dropped the envelope on the table. Chloe snatched it, her eyes scanned the numbers. And then, her smile shattered. Stephanie grabbed it next, her face twisted. $73.50? She barked. "What the hell is this?" I leaned in, calm and unshaken. "That's what it would have cost me. A bus ticket from Grand Junction back home. The day you left me." Stephanie's mouth opened, but nothing useful came out. I straightened up. "You don't get any more than that." Chloe blinked, lips parted like she wanted to cry, but no tears came. Stephanie slammed the check on the table. "You're a jerk, Mike. After everything." "No," I said, cutting her off. "After everything. You abandoned me. You laughed about it. You turned me into a joke." Issa shrank into the booth, barely breathing. "You came here thinking I'd still be that guy. The one who'd bend, who'd beg. You were wrong." Silence. "You're done here," I added, loud enough for the regulars to hear. "Don't come back." I turned and walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't flinch. Didn't owe them anything. I leaned against the front window of the diner, coffee mug in hand, and watched them outside. They were arguing in the parking lot, Chloe, Stephanie, Issa, just like I figured they would. Stephanie was furious, arms flailing, her face red with frustration. Chloe stood frozen, clutching the envelope like it was a slap across the face. Issa lingered on the edge, arms crossed tight, looking like she wanted to vanish. I couldn't hear their words, but I didn't need to. I knew the sound of blame being passed around. Stephanie probably lit into Chloe. You said he'd help. Chloe probably whispered some pathetic defense. Issa just stared at the ground, pretending this wasn't her mess too. They were unraveling, splintering in broad daylight. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, just stillness. They'd tried to rewrite history, make themselves the victims, paint me as some heartless success story who forgot the people who loved him. But they didn't come to apologize. They came to take. The regulars inside the diner barely noticed. Just another morning. Just another scene. I turned from the window, sipped the coffee, bitter, cold now, and went back to wiping down the counter. One of the waitresses glanced over. You okay, Mike? I nodded. Yeah, I'm good. And I was. I finished my shift without thinking about them again. Didn't even check to see if they were still out there. When I locked up that night, the air felt lighter, cleaner. They hadn't come for closure. They came hoping I was still broken. They left, realizing I wasn't. I drove home with the windows down, the hum of the engine steady beneath me. Sienna's car was in the driveway. Lights on. Kids probably asleep upstairs. I walked in, kicked off my boots, and smelled lasagna in the oven. She was at the kitchen table, grading papers, glasses low on her nose. Hey, she said, looking up. You okay? I sat across from her, still holding the weight of the day. They came by, I said simply. She didn't flinch. Chloe, Stephanie, Issa asked for help. I gave them bus fare. Her lips tugged into a smile. $73? $73.50, I said. Exact cost of the ticket back then. She laughed, soft and knowing. They can't take anything you don't give them, she said, her fingers brushing mine. I nodded. That was it. That was all I needed. Later that night, the kids were asleep. The dishes were done. The world was quiet. I sat on the porch with a beer in hand, Sienna beside me wrapped in a blanket, stars above us, wind whispering through the trees. She leaned into me. What's on your mind? I took a breath. Let it out. Nothing. Then I smiled. Everything. She understood. She always did. And I realized something. The best revenge wasn't money, or success, or even that moment in the diner. It was this, right here, a life they couldn't touch,